Whew. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, everybody, for being here and for listening to the wonderful preaching that we've heard so far. And hopefully that will continue. I will be preaching on a text from Exodus, chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. Now, a man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine baby, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and plastered it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child in it and placed it among the reeds on the bank of the river. His sister stood at a distance and watched to see what would happen to him. The daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her attendants walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to bring it. When she opened it, she saw the child. He was crying, and she took pity on him. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Yes." So the girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed it. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she took him as her son. She named him Moses because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." Moses' sister had known her baby only 3 months, her baby brother. Most likely, in that time, she had helped her mother to care for him, learned how to hold him. She probably, sadly, also learned how to hide him, protecting him from the tyranny of Pharaoh. In 3 months, she probably got used to having him, to the noise, and the smell, and had probably gotten used to the idea of just having a baby around. There's something special about the bond of siblings, especially for older siblings, I think. Though we look out for the younger ones, it's the first time we really experience the bonds of kinship and friendship at the same time. One of my earliest memories is when my little brother came home from the hospital. He was still too small for me to play with, so I just sat outside of his cradle and stared at him. It was amazing to me, this squeaky, smelly thing that looked actually a lot like a smaller version of myself. After a while, I noticed he wasn't moving very much, and pretty soon my quick-witted 3-year-old mind knew exactly why it was. He had no toys. It's obvious, he's bored. He needs some toys. We all need something to play with, right? So as any good brother would do, I just started chucking toys into his cradle. By the time my parents came in, it was full almost to the top with my little brother underneath it. They were horrified. "What are you doing, Zachary?" they asked me. "What were you thinking?" I thought he was bored. I just gave him something to play with. I only wanted to help. I loved him. Even though I'd only just met him, I loved him. Though the story makes no mention of her age or her name, which is Miriam, by the way, I pictured Moses' sister maybe a little older than I was, but probably no older than 7 or 8. Though she was still very young, slave children grow up very fast. And she was old enough to know that this baby needed help to survive the scary world of Israelite life in Egypt. This, I'm certain Miriam knew. Miriam also knew, as I'm sure her parents emphasized, the dangers of the Nile. And she certainly knew the dangers of wandering the river alone. When I was growing up, my mother used to tell the story of La Llorona, the crying woman. La Llorona, as the story goes, would throw her children into the ditch, killing them. Then, unable to live with herself, jumped into the river after them. Her spirit, they say, still wanders the ditch banks, wailing, "Mis hijos," really creepy-like, looking for her lost children, or, if she couldn't find them, new children to replace them. That story still gives me the heebie-jeebies, but this is an example of stories that parents tell their children to warn them of the dangers of things like riverbanks. The Israelites probably told their children stories as well, to keep them safe from the Nile, while both parents toiled in slavery at the hands of Pharaoh. Now, when his mother knew it was time to say goodbye to baby Moses, perhaps she gathered her daughter, and maybe she held her, kissed her, and said, "Your brother is in God's hands." Miriam knew what would be awaiting Moses in the Nile. And maybe Miriam stayed behind when her mother walked away. Or maybe, not wanting to burden her daughter with the grief, she stole away alone with Moses, wrapped him in a basket, saying her last goodbyes to her baby boy, while Miriam could only watch from a distance. Seeing her mother take the baby and wrap him up and put him down by the river, I'm certain Miriam knew exactly what was going on. And she watched Moses drift down the river. And when Pharaoh's daughter and her servants found Moses, however, Miriam might have also still felt that Moses was not yet safe. Moses' life was now in the hands of Pharaoh's daughter, the daughter and blood relation of the man responsible for Moses' danger in the first place, and responsible for the slavery of Miriam's people, of her parents, and eventually, probably for her. I'm sure Miriam also knew this. Miriam probably did not trust Moses' life in the hands of Pharaoh's daughter any more than in the Nile. We'll probably never know exactly what compelled Miriam to brave the dangers of the Nile herself and to speak so boldly to Pharaoh's daughter. And I would like to think that if I were her and my little brother were in Moses' shoes, I would have done the same. She could have said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Give me back my brother," or prophetically, "Let my brother go." But she didn't. I like to think that Miriam knew exactly what was going on and saw a chance not only to save the life of her baby brother, but also to bring to a grieving mother, helpless herself in the face of these Egyptian laws, a little bit of solace, if only a moment of joy, knowing that her son was safe. We may never know for sure what gave Miriam the strength to face certain danger from both the power of nature and the powers of authority, but I think it was probably just love. She loved her mother, and she loved her brother. Moses' life story could have just started in a basket, being found by Pharaoh's daughter, and that's it. But this is not Moses' story. It's not Moses' name on the front of the book. It's God's story. And the strength that Miriam found to challenge her circumstances through love, to me, makes all the difference.